Good morning, welcome to another video. Now today's going to be quite a big one. We're looking at doing the cam belt on the Mk3 Astra and a full service and a thermostat. So I thought I'd open all the parts on camera so you can see exactly what I've got. So in the bag, because I know Euro car parts like sending things separately. So we've got right, this is the air filter. It's surprisingly large. Bosch one. I don't know if that looks like it's way too big. Oh no, it looks about right. Well, I suppose we'll soon find out. You know, I ordered all this from Euro car parts. They do like sending the wrong stuff. What's that? I forgot it. Right. This isn't from Euro car parts. This is actually from eBay. This is Vauxhall. Now the Astra's got some issues. As you might have seen in the video, if you've seen the video where I walk around the car, underneath the boot floor there is a good amount of rust, or surface rust. It's not heavy, gone right for the metal start rust, but I've got some of this Vauxhall. Now this I've seen used before. It's supposed to be pretty good stuff. I know Ian over at Hubnut uses this stuff, so if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. And now we get on to the big box. We should have all these service parts. My trusty Victorinox multi-tool to cut through the tape, which is making short work of. Better fold that way if I slice myself on it. Right, packing stuff. There we have the oil, gone for 10W40, Shell Helix. I'll use this stuff on the 205 and I've used it on all my other Astras in the past. I don't know if I've mentioned before, but I've had loads of Vauxhall Astras, mostly all Mark 4s. I think I've had 3 or 4 of them now. And I do intend to get one again actually, so I do enjoy working on those as well. They're a nice car. So here we have the oil filter. And the thermostat. Now these, I believe, so with an Astra, certainly on the Mark 4s, I'm not so sure about the Mark 3s, but I don't know. Let me just open this up a minute and we'll find out. If I can actually open it. Be a good start. Yes, so as I thought, you get the whole housing, so you don't just get the thermostat, as you can see in there, you get the whole thing, the pipe goes on. And if I just move the camera over, you can see it just there on the side of the engine there. So I'll actually put the tripod back where I actually had it. But yeah, just to go back in this box at the time again in case I step on it or something, which wouldn't surprise me. Here we have, this is the cam belt kit. I don't know why it's got studs there. It's a little bit worrying. Never replaced any of those before, but hopefully it's just a generic picture. In fact, yeah, I'm going to say it's a generic picture because that isn't the Vauxhall tensioner as far as I know. And there definitely aren't 2 idler pulleys as far as I know either. We have the water pump, and that's definitely a stock picture because that's not a Vauxhall water pump, no way. And last but not least, wash fuel filter. Now I don't know if I'll get around to doing this today because I'm pretty sure you have to have a special pair of pliers or unlocking tool for these. But yeah, you can see it's got that end on it and the pipes sort of clamp around the ends. But we'll see. I'm assuming this is the input end, this end here, because that's got the cover on, so I'm assuming that's towards the engine. But yeah, yeah, flow. There's a little arrow there. Look. Ideal. So that's all the parts. So now we can just get to jacking the car up, I suppose. So we are in the garage today. Now if I just pull out the tripod, as you can see, because it is raining outside a lot. The weather forecast said it wouldn't rain, but it is. As you see, there's water on the car still. I mean, I don't have a massive amount of room in here that I would have outside because I've got tons of crap everywhere. But my intention is to jack the car up on the subframe, stick a stand under the sill on that side to get that wheel off, and that should give me then enough room to get the muck shield out, the airbox out. That should give me good access to the cam belt then, and that'll be fine to do that. It doesn't look like there's an engine mount on this side. On the Mark 4 Astras, you've got the engine mount right here. But then again, this is an X series engine. It's not the same as the Z series I'm used to working on. Hopefully my cam locking tool will fit this as well. I've got a 16 valve cam locking tool. But anyway, I'll get the car in the air and I'll carry on from there. And as well as having all the parts, another important thing is plenty of coffee. And in my favourite mug, which says UNT on it. I'm not exactly sure what it stands for, but it's a good sized mug and it holds a lot of coffee. And it also has a black handle, which I think is a really nice touch. Right, to get to the wheel nuts, you have to use these little keys to remove this cover. It literally just fits in there and unscrews. It's quite a cool little idea, really, because it just tidies up the look of the wheels. Doesn't really matter then if your wheel nuts start getting rusty. There you go. There they are, and there's studs on this. That's quite surprising. I was expecting to be just normal lugs like on a normal Astra. Well, a Mark 4 Astra, not a normal Astra. That's fairly surprising. I used a Draper Storm Force gun for a change. What's the compressor was going to cut in right as I started filming. Oh, these aren't nuts. Oh. Come on, get on there. Oh, hang on a minute, I have to put the camera down. So that's the wheel off. Glad I'm not doing it out there. It's just started hammering down. This is actually the first time I've actually had the wheel off this car since I bought it, so let's put that over there a minute. Alright, okay, don't go over there. Just roll off over that side of the garage instead. Fair enough. I haven't actually had a look at this yet. The camera can actually see better than I can. It's looking pretty decent in there, to be fair. Better than I expected. It's been wax oiled around the backs of the arches there. Yeah, it's looking good. There is a knock from this side. I'm suspecting the bottom ball joint's gone. But I mean, the discs are a little bit scored, but they're not looking too bad. You can see where it has been sat for a while, this car, and it hasn't done many miles for the past few years. So these discs and pads, chances are quite old. But everything else is looking pretty good. The exhaust is, well, it looks like oh no, it is. It looks new on the camera, but it's not. It's just the way the light's reflecting off it. But yeah, get a stand underneath this and start taking. Well, I'm assuming this plastic cover here off. I'd also show how close I am to the wall on the other side of the car. There's about an inch there, if that. But I did that on purpose. See? Precision. That's what it's all about on this channel. Not. Right, so as you can see, I've got the airbox out of the way. And this is the belt tensioner pulley that I've got the offset ring spanner on now. This belt ain't looking great. You can see cracks in the ribs. So really I should have ordered one, but I'll order one well when I go back up to edit this video, I suppose. But you see where I've got this here now. This is the tensioner pulley, and to back off the tension on the belt, you simply put the spanner on there and you turn it, and you can see the belt tension, the belt's getting looser. So by pulling on that, you release the belt tension. You can see it's looser on the alternator now. So you can see the belt's now off. The weird thing is the engine mount actually goes through the belt. So to change the belt, you have to remove the engine mount, or at least I'd imagine unhook it. But that is weird, that. But here we have now full access to the timing covers. You can see all the bolts down there. That pulley's looking a little bit worse for wear. Still spins all right. It just looks strange. Funny, it's an odd colour. Oh, it's just a bit rusty. He's all right. But yeah, power steering pumps there. You can just see the crank angle sensor down there as well. Just going to be careful not to scat that. I don't want to break it. But yeah, I'll take out the cam cover bolts and I'll get back to you. So somewhere like this, I'm doing covers like this, where one of these really comes in handy. It's a Sealy electric ratchet. Really good machine. Really, really handy piece of kit to have. You can see. They don't have much torque, so you can't go undoing stubborn bolts with them, but for this sort of application, they're absolutely perfect. It just takes away the tediousness of undoing bolts. I'll put that up there for now, and I'll put it in the cover when I've taken it off. But yeah. It's got a little courtesy light on it, just to make life a little bit easier. But yeah, it's a really, really handy tool to have. I'm not sure how well the camera's actually focusing here. The light levels aren't ideal. Just prise this off a minute. There it goes. So there you have it. The cam's exposed now, or the cam pulleys are exposed now. Just put that there a minute. Put those in there, put them somewhere safe down with all the other parts, so they can get kicked across the garage floor at some point, no doubt. But yeah, there we go. There's the two cam pulleys. The belt doesn't look too bad, and I think it has been done fairly recently, but I've got no service history with the car, so I just want to be sure that it's not going to snap while I'm driving to Launceston or something. Right, so as you can see, I've loosened the crank pulley bolt. Oop, there goes the crank pulley. So there's no real way I can find to pin the time in on this, so it's just a case of using the air gun to whack the bolt off, and I'll put the bolt back in and use that to time it back up again. So the top pulleys here, you've got two marks there. Someone's Tipex them in the past, but you can see where they're supposed to point to each other. And once they point to each other, you've got it all lined up. There's that red plastic tool there. You push those between the cams, and that locks the cams in time then, and they can't move. So that's quite a handy tool to have. In fact, I'd say it's pretty necessary, really. Now, these bolts here, I think these are one-time use only, and it just happens that I have a spare one anyway from a cam belt kit that I got from Mk3 Astra, and it came with one of these bolts, but it must have just been put in the wrong kit because it wasn't needed for that, and it's a different size to the one on the Mk3 Astra anyway for the Z series engines. But as you can see, we are almost ready. Now that there, I believe, is actually the tensioner release. I'm not sure, but yeah, I've got to get this cover off anyway. So I'll pick up when the cover's off. So this is the point we're up to now. Both timing covers have been removed, upper and lower. Got the locking tool in, locking the camshafts in place. Now I don't know if this is actually the correct, because this is an X series engine. I think this tool's actually meant for a Z series, but it fits in there anyway. And you can see all the Tipex marks that the previous owner has put in there all line up. So yeah, and the bottom pulley, that's in time as well. There's a little notch on there, you can't see on camera, but there's a mark right on the block, well, behind the timing cover on the block that lines up with, that's all in time, so that's fine. So now it's just a case of taking off this cam angle sensor, if I can figure out, because I've taken the one bolt out, but still isn't interested in going anywhere, so I'm assuming there's something else holding it in. But I don't want to be too rough with it in case I break it, but it looks like there's another bolt back there that, yeah, ideal. Well, that's that anyway. Just do that while I'm filming. And actually feel around for the bolt. Where the hell is it? It's Torx headed. There he is. So yeah, just crack that one. Not very tight, they don't need to be. Surprised at how tight the bolts were for the timing covers though. They shouldn't be that tight really. They don't need to be, because they're going into aluminium, so you don't want to over tighten them anyway, because you will pull the threads out. But yeah, just undo that quickly. It's hard to film while you're doing the job because you're doing everything left-handed. Because I can't hold can't do it any other way. Right, there's the cam angle sensor, so we'll just put that back out of the way. So now we've got a clear run now. We can get to the belt easily. You can see the tensioner down there. That's a Torx, male Torx. Just release that, and the spring tension will release, and it will release the tension on the belt, so you can take it off. Now, you can see the water pump there. Let's get a catch cam ready. So that is going to come out everywhere. And yeah, you've got an idler pulley there. And well, that's it actually. It's just the one on it. There's an idler pulley there that I didn't see because it's black. But yeah, those two idler pulleys. And I've got, well, there'll be new ones in the kit anyway. So I'll slacken the belt off in a sec. I'll just get the correct tools and then I'll show you the belt slackening. So here's another little thing you can do. You can mark a tooth on the belt, on the pulley, on the belt, sorry, like that. And then mark a spot, the spot next to it, the dip on the pulley. Now you can do this, and then you can count on the new belt. This thing's crap. That'll do. So you can count the marks, the teeth between the marks, and you can copy the old marks from the old belt to the new belt, and obviously do one on the crank as well, which I'll do now. Got a sort of break dance around the floor here a minute. Let's get to this. But yeah, same thing here. Mark up a fucking thing. Mark up a tooth on the belt. Just pick one, and then mark up the face of the sprocket next to it, like that. You can just copy the marks off the old belt onto the new belt, counting them in. And that way you can sort of make sure you get it right. Since the timing the cams are locked and the crank ain't going to move, I'm pretty confident anyway, but I'll just show you that little tip anyway. So here we go. I'm going to try and release the tension on the belt from around the side so you can actually see what's going on here. I can't. So it looks like this has been over tightened. People love doing that with these because it really annoys me as well because they're such a shallow Torx head. I really want to get this on camera, but by the look of it, someone's gone to town on it. Let's have a look. You should, if I can loosen it, you'll see the tensioner move. No, that ain't going nowhere. For Christ's sake. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do this off camera, unfortunately. Right, so that didn't go very well. That Torx, the Torx bolt that holds on that tensioner has stripped out completely, which is typical. But fortunately, I know exactly what to do because this happens on Mk3 Astras as well all the time. So I'll just have to drill the head off the bolt and pull the tensioner off, and then get a set of mole grips on the shank of the bolt, what's left of it anyway, and wind it out by hand that way. There you go, it's finally off. Now that took some doing. It took way longer than it should have because I couldn't find my decent set of drill bits, which was really bugging the hell out of me. The cheap ones I could find were all blunt. But as you can see, that bolt head was on there. Now that tensioner will now just, well, it should be probably quite hot. So it's probably not, wouldn't recommend touching it. But I'll be able to turn that now, yep. And there'll be no tension on the belt, should be fairly, well, I say fairly slack. You see, let's have a look if I can find one after here. Right. Normally what you'd do, not slack enough, is you'd back it off using the hex, but that's also rounded out. You can see there, if I get that on, there. It's still turning. Yeah, you'll turn that right until it's as loose as it will go. Right there. The belt won't come off at the bottom here. You've got the water pump holding it. We'll see at the top here. Belts now really slide off. This might be a two-hand job again. I do have a tripod, I just don't have anywhere to set it up in a decent place in here. But yeah, I'll as it come off that idler there. No, have to come off the belts. It's moving, but yeah. Right, I'll take the belt off shortly, and I'll show you. So there's just no way I can get that loose here. It'd be nice to get the belt coming off on camera, but there's just not enough slack in it at the moment. It's moving. See, the thing is, it's quite annoying because I know I've done loads of these belts, obviously, and they all come off fairly easily, but this is a very tight fitting belt. There he goes, look. There we go. Just run the belt off, all the pulleys, look, off the water pump, off the crank sprocket. Around the water pump, around the idler. Is there another idler? Oh no, that's just the tensioner. There we go, there's the old belt. Pinched behind the tensioner there. So, let's have a look. It doesn't look too bad. I've seen a hell of a lot worse. Yeah, that's not bad at all. I'd say that's fairly recent actually. But we're going to change it anyway because I don't actually know how old this belt is or anything. So, yeah. See the marks I told you about? Still on there. So what we'll do, we'll get the new belt out of the box in a minute, count the teeth between each mark. So start, say on this one, count to that one, count all the way around to that one, and yeah, that should be all right. Obviously, like I said, a handy locking tools in there anyway, holding the cam steady, because I have had it before I had these tools, where I couldn't stop the exhaust cam from turning back on itself. And I had to have someone hold it there by the cam bolt while I fed the belt around, and that wasn't ideal. It was an absolute nightmare. Yeah, that took a lot of fettling to get that right, but just move that belt a minute. To get this tensioner off now, it's literally going to be just a case of pulling it off that, what's left of its bolt, which it looks like there's a burr on there holding it on still. So I'll just have to drill that. So there's like a burr on the edge of the bolt there. I have to drill that off. So if I put a lever bar behind it, I could probably wrench it off, but I don't want to cause any unnecessary damage to anything else, so I'll just do that quickly. Right, so I managed to get the crank, that what's it called, the bolt off, the head of that tensioner off. You can see just the shank of the bolt left in there now. So what I would do now is put on the mole grips, which of course need to be adjusted single-handedly, of course. That's probably too far actually. Hang on. Just right. There you go. See, literally it's turning that easily now. It's just the fact that it was tensioned so hard, it was tightened so hard down on that tensioner, and I don't understand why, because there's no need for that. It's supposed to be torqued down to the correct level, and I don't understand why people feel I need to torque things down so tight. You can actually damage tensioners doing that. So yeah, it's just be a case of doing that now until it's loose enough to take out by hand. You'll notice the crank pulley bolt's back in again. That's because I had to lever the tensioner off against this burr, and I lever it against the crank pulley and turn the crank timing out by about a tooth, but I've lined it back up again now. You might be able to see the little pointer in the back there. It's really hard to see. Don't know why they did like that. On the Mark IVs, the time marks on the plastic case, but oh well. So the next thing we'll be taking out is that water pump up there, and you can see it's actually been leaking, so it's a good job we're doing this. I didn't expect to see that actually, because yeah, you're supposed to change the water pump when you change the cam belt. So it looks like to me the last person who did this cam belt didn't change the water pump, which is a stupid thing to do really. Chances are it's probably seized in now as well, but yeah, we'll see. Right, so the water pump's ready to come out. All 3 bolts have been removed. Let's just see if this will actually come. Right, catch can is at the ready because the coolant is going to come out. Ah, nice. Oh, blimey, right in the face. Yeah, there's the old pump. It's actually not looking too bad, but the fact that it was leaking, you can see that. But yeah, that's out now. Ugh. Lovely. It's all in my mouth and everything here. It's not stuff you want to be drinking, antifreeze. It's particularly poisonous, which is why this will have to be disposed of very responsibly, of course, because we have a lot of animals here and I don't want any of them drinking it. Oh, that's going all over the garage floor. So I'll just move the catch can slightly. That's that done anyway. That was one thing I was worried about because they like to seize in, I believe. But yeah, ideal. Right, so the next one is taking these idlers off. Oh, that's tighter than I expected. These also are supposed to be torqued down. God blimey, that's tight. See, these are supposed to be torqued down, not over tightened. But I just think sometimes torque specs are there for people to ignore. It's so annoying. That's absolutely ridiculously tight. Just check the nice one, straight in the catch can with all the coolant. I never said that working on cars was easy. Yep, and that's stupidly tight as well. For crying out loud, who did this? Right, so this is where we're up to. Well, you can't really see it because it's now playing up. Oh, yeah, there you go, change that a bit. Crap quality, I know, but the water pump's out, both idler pulleys are off. Everything's stripped, pretty much ready to go back together. The only thing I need to do now is get the cam belt kit ready. I'll open the box in a minute, show you what's in there. But yeah, I'm just having a quick break because this has turned into one of those jobs that's taken all day. It wasn't supposed to originally, but you know how things go. But it's all right. I don't mind taking my time. I mean, I've got to get it done today because the car's half in, half out the garage. I don't really want to leave it here all night. But yeah, it's beer o'clock now, Sunday afternoon, and I've gone for some Korev. This is Ansem stuff. This is made just around the corner in St Austell. It's lovely, nice bit of beer. So yeah, I'll show you when progress is being made. So here we go. So this is the cam belt kit. So here we are, straight on top. It's the new belt. You can see you got all the markings here. It doesn't say it's directional, so I'm guessing it's just fit as it is. So if you were putting the old belt back on, you would draw an arrow in the direction the belt runs. So you put the belt back on the same way. So I'll just stick that up there somewhere. It's not going to get contaminated with oil. You don't want to contaminate your belt either, so make sure it stays nice and clean. And then I'll put a new pair of gloves on to handle the belt and everything. So in here we got new idlers, 2 new idlers. These 2 here have been pulled out. So you've got the bigger one, which goes towards the intake side of the engine, a smaller one that goes towards the exhaust. And here is the tensioner itself, and you can see your little pointer, your little sight there. So you point, if you're putting the old belt back on, you point that as you tighten it. As you tighten the tension on the belt, that pointer there will move. So when you're putting a used belt back on, you use that notch. You put a new belt on, you use the other notch. But yeah, that locates in the block to hold it steady. And I'll show you anyway when this goes back in. You'll see how it all works. But it's a spring tensioner. Probably should be doing that. But yeah, it's very simple. And all your new screws and everything are in here, which is good because, as you know, I had to destroy the other one to get it out. That's why I wasn't too worried about destroying it. But yeah, these things are always really shallow, and I think they do that to stop you over tensioning. Because as I said earlier, people don't like using torque wrenches. It's really annoying. But yeah, there's the little bolt for the exhaust side idler. So that's ideal. And the water pump. So you get a new seal, new O-ring, which is good. And the actual pump itself is in here. In the bag, with all protective plastic on it. I'm going to get that out in a sec. We'll install that before we install the new belt kit, and I'll show you a little thing that I like to do when I'm installing these. Shortly I'll get you in the tripod to show you that. Right, so here's the new water pump, nice and shiny and clean and new. Now what you want to do, you'll get your new seal, fit that on there, and it'll sit back in its little recess here. Now what I normally also do is I get a bit of this stuff, silicone lube, not that kind of lube, don't be so disgusting, and get a good finger in there, get a nice amount of that. I don't want to go too mad because this stuff's dear, but just scat the tripod, sorry about that. Yeah, get a healthy amount of that on there. You know, don't get too mad, but get a good amount on there. Just basically, it helps when you're fitting. When you're fitting it, it helps you maneuver it in when you're putting it in its slot. Again, stop being disgusting. I know you're sniggering there, but yeah, plenty of this on there. It also, I suppose, it will help with corrosion a bit. Just makes life a bit easier. So yeah, me being me though, I didn't actually see the way the old pump comes out, which is handy because I've got all this on camera, so I can just go back and have a look. But it is very important to note these things. Don't do what I just did. Anyway, right. Also, just worth mentioning while I'm here, clean out the. Hang on a minute. Let me just get some of this grease off my fingers. So where the water pump sits in its housing. Hang on, let me just get out the tripod. In there. Again, you can't see it. It's just we probably just see a dark circle there. I have cleaned that out. Make sure that's nice and clean because you want your seal to sit well. You don't want any rust in there. You don't want any leaks, especially after doing all this work. You don't want to put it all back together, fill the system up, and it pisses all the water out all over the floor. So yeah, as you can see, the new water pump's in there. All the bolts tightened up. The two idler pulleys, I've just done those up with the electric ratchet for a second, so I can get this in. This is a torque wrench for those who don't know. This is set to 25 newton meters, which is the correct torque for doing these up. And there you go. That's all it needs. That click signifies that you've got it tight enough. Now if I can just get this bit off here. Hang on. Put it down a set, amazing filming skills. So here's the other one. On the bolt, maybe. Hang on a minute, this probably a two-handed job on this one because it's quite, you could do an extension on it, but there you go. And there it is, 25 newton meters, according to the book, the Haynes Manual, Book of the Gods. Right, so the new belt's on. As you can see, the marks are made on the old belt. I transferred to this one, counted the teeth in between to make sure they're correct. Everything still lines up. So, got the white mark there, white mark there. So the way I did it is I hooked the belt on the crank, and fed it up over that idler, pulled it tight, not so much that you move the crank, but tight enough so that there's no, just basically so there's no looseness in between the crank and the leading edge of this sprocket. So I fed the belt up over the top there, around that idler, around the water pump, and the tensioner and the crank mark lines up. These two marks line up. That's the main thing. All the teeth are in the correct positions. So I'm happy with that. So now all I've got to do is put tension on the belt. You can see the tensioner down there. I'll try and get it in the film in a minute. Well, actually, I'll do it now. So, see this here. You turn the tensioner. Oh, the backing plate. Does that move? There you go. Now see the little arm. It's really hard to see, but the arm there. Let's see it. The little pointer. You move it up to that notch, and then tighten that bolt in the middle, and that's your timing belt tension set. A little bit over. That's about right there. So I'm going to just stop the camera a minute and tighten that bolt up. Alright, so the belt's all back on again. You can see that nice fresh new belt on there. All the idlers, the water pump, everything's tensioned up. The tensioner is all tightened up, everything's ready to go. Just got to put that cam angle sensor back on. Obviously I've wound the engine over a few times by hand just to make sure everything still times up, which it does perfectly. So I'm going to remove that timing tool. Really handy things to have, these. They're only cheap on eBay, a couple of quid. And yeah, I don't know if this is actually, I think this is actually for a Z series engine, but it fits on this one fine. It's just a bit of an odd fit, but it holds the cams perfectly still, so that's all I'm worried about. Of course, I spilled my beer everywhere. Bit of a shame, but you know, it's up there now, out of the way. Safety. Got to think about these things. Right, time to put things together. So there we go. All the timing covers back on. It's all, you know, reverse of disassembly. It all just goes back on. Making sure that goes in its little slot, that wire there for the cam angle sensor. I mean, I can't get that to close. It was like that when I started anyway, so it's probably just out of shape. But yeah, this belt definitely needs replacing, but it's all I've got at the minute, so just chucking that back on. Bottom crank pulley's done up. Everything else is done up. Belt's back on, auxiliary belt's back on. And yeah, hopefully, very shortly, we'll be ready for a test run. All I've got to do now is replace the thermostat, which is there. I've got to wrestle those stupid fucking clips again. But yeah, it's getting late now. So just a quick sort of side note. I just checked, because the way the cam cover was sitting was really bugging me. It was really annoying. The cam belt top cover, so I say, was really bugging the hell out of me. And yeah, basically what it was, and it's a good job I checked really, because this is a little mistake I made and didn't realise. This was trapped behind there, was trapped behind underneath the cam wheel. And it should sit flat like that. And it wasn't touching the cam wheel at the time when I looked behind there, but that would have caused, if that just moved and touched the cam wheel, it would have eaten right through that wire and the car would have died, because that Hall effect sensor there is, well, you see how it picks up on these notches in the cam? That's how it knows when to spark and when to fire the injectors. It's very important. If that wire breaks, the car will just cut out. So it's a really good job I checked that. The thermostat, now we're replacing that. I've taken the top hose off. It's up there. Fighting with these stupid clips again. I hate the damn things. And yes, again, I know there's a tool. Take them bolts out. That's not even moving. I'll just film this off. Okay, so the thermostat's off. You can see all that like crust on there from old antifreeze. I suppose it's quite an old thermostat. As far as I can see, it's not actually stuck open or anything. It's shut, but I don't know. The seal's pretty knackered as well. It's old. So for the sake of, I think this was £4, one of these, the new one. Might as well just replace it. It could, the other option, the other thing it could be the that sensor in there is not picking up properly. But yeah, we'll get the new one on now, and yeah, hopefully it will be better. Right, so there we go. That's the new thermostat fitted, looking good there. The only thing left to do now is to refit the undershield and the airbox, and that's it. Sorry, I was looking at the cam cover for the microcar on the floor and started panicking, thinking I've forgotten something. Yeah, it shouldn't be too bad. I mean, these under tray things are always hideous to refit, so I'm probably gonna have to wrestle that aspect. But yeah, it's getting fairly late now as well. I'd like to go up and have some dinner. Like, I'm getting hungry. Never mind. So here we have it, all back together. Airbox is back on, muck shield's back on, wheels back on. Coolant's filled back up again, fresh coolant again. I've mixed up in that bottle down there. I've left the cap off for a second to let. So I'll start it when I start it up. It will let some. Well, if there's any air trapped in the system, it will purge out. It should do anyway, but yeah. So I can just keep eating. It's hard to tell the water level in that because the bottle's not particularly clean. So let's start it up. This is the first sort of start. I've not started this yet. I'll do it on camera so you can see how good or not this went. So here we go. Not a very good angle. Hang on. Here we go. It's definitely worth mentioning that knocking sound you can hear. It's not valves hitting pistons, it's that. I panicked too when I heard it. I properly thought, Christ, what have I done here? But no, it's running absolutely perfectly. The steam obviously is coolant spilt on the exhaust manifold. That's just evaporating off. But yeah, everything is fine. Just this here, I think that just needs a new seal. But, oh, thank God for that. Honestly, when I heard that rattling sound, I thought, oh my God, it must be a tooth out or something. But yeah, give it a few seconds and the idle should die down. It's just cold, obviously. But the strange thing is, underneath this wing, behind the arch liner, there's an electric coolant pump. I've never seen that on a car before. That's what this pipe here goes to. And it only runs at startup, and I'll bet, well, it's just cut out. When the revs die down, it stops. It's really bizarre. I can't work out what it's for. But yeah, the coolant level's staying, well, exact. So we'll stick that back on so it can build pressure. Christ, I can actually get it to not cross thread. But yeah, that's been, I mean, I'm not doing the oil change today for service. The parts are still on the floor. I mean, it's an absolute mess in here, the state of it. But yeah, all the parts for that are down there. I'm not doing that today. I can't. This has taken longer than I expected, in all fairness. It's now pitch black outside. I started this in the morning, so yeah. But there's some frustrating moments in there, certainly. You know, having to drill out that tensioner bolt, the over-tightened bolts on the idler pulleys, all those things like that. And everything else that's sort of went a bit pear-shaped. Like, I must have spent half an hour alone faffing around with these stupid spring clips. I'll probably change those for Jubilee clips at some point, you know, or get the proper tool. That would also be good. But yeah, there were a few moments where I wasted a bit of time. Like, you know, I put all the cam covers back on and then realised I didn't put the inside cam cover screws back in. So there's two screws that I removed so that I could see how the water pump aligns. By pulling the plastic casing forward, I forgot to put those back in. So when I put all the cam covers back on and the auxiliary belt back on, I found them on the floor and thought, oh shit, you know, pain in the ass. But at the end of the day, you know, no one's perfect. We all make mistakes, and it just cost me about 15 minutes to whip it all off again. But apart from that, I'm happy with that. Everything's running lovely and smooth. So yeah, just wait for it to build up some coolant pressure, check for leaks, make sure the fan cuts in and everything, and yeah, we'll be all good. Nice new thermostat there. Be interested to see if that makes a difference. If it's not the thermostat, it'll probably be this sensor right here. They're prone to failing, and by the look of it, someone's been faffing around with it before, where it's cable tied up like that. So might need to splice a bit of new loom in there or something. But yeah, I'm happy with that. It's running lovely. So that'll probably do for this video, unless I find anything else. So if you've liked the video, click like please, it does help. Subscribe if you want to see more on this car. I've still got to do the oil change yet. I mean, that's fairly common play on YouTube. Everyone likes the video doing oil changes, but you know, we'll just see. There's a few other things coming up. I've got a BMW to service. What else is there? Well, I've got to drag the 205 out of retirement and see if I can get that running a bit better, because it's running a bit lumpy. So there'll be a few 205 videos coming up. Yeah, there'll be plenty more to see. So yeah, like I said, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.